afternoon to you. This is Harwell and Chiltern's own Songs of Praise. We have our own orchestra, St Matthew's Church Orchestra, the Celebration Choir. We also have a specially formed Scout Choir for the occasion, never seen before, and Harwell Young Singers as well, of course a well-established choir, both of the last two under Zara Zimmerman's leadership, and Kate Evans and David and the orchestra accompanying and leading the celebration choirs. We have 4 interviewees. I'm going to be calling out 4 normal people who live in our communities, but no one's quite ordinary, are they? Everyone has an extraordinary story to tell. Just from the other side is Michelle Leclerc. Michelle, you live in Chiltern, I understand? Well, I do know because I've been to your house several times.
Is this on?
Yeah, I think so. Just hold it about there. Is that about good? Do you want to do a quick test?
Yes, hello.
Yes, hello. Hello. Good. Lovely. So, how long have you been in Chiltern, Michelle?
Not as long as most people.
No, that is true. That is true.
I can remember giving up very early, asking how long people had lived, because I'd always lived there for about 40 years, and I've only been here 4 years.
Only 4. So, only just started. And
Where
were you before that?
I lived in Andover, not very far from, sort of between Thruxton and Andover.
Okay, so we were talking a little bit about your childhood. Some quite significant things happened around 1953. What does that ring a bell for all of us? 1953, Queen's coronation. Other significant things going on in your world, Michelle, around that time?
Yes, I was confirmed. I had been at a Catholic school. I got really worried that they all seemed to know everything that I didn't know, so I decided to actually go and find out more, and I did this by being confirmed.
So what is being confirmed? That all sounds a bit mysterious. I should know, being a rector. do explain? It sounds mysterious.
Yes, it was just that I felt they knew more about God and about Jesus and about life really in general. And I just felt I wanted to know more. So I thought my parents had always been in the Church of England, and my father was a church warden, and my mother did a lot of the church laundry. And so I asked if I could go and see the vicar there, and he saw me, and I became confirmed, which is really giving your life to God and confirming what your godparents do when you are baptised, when you are not able to do it for yourself, but I felt I wanted to do it for myself.
Own it for yourself.
Yes.
And following that, you had a sort of a career aspiration which didn't last for very long, is that right? What did you want to do?
I thought I'd like to be a nun.
A nun. Michelle, would you have been a good nun?
No.
No?
Anybody who knows me, there is no way. I'm far too forceful and outspoken at times, so I don't think it would have been a very good idea, really. So no.
So changed your mind on that, and so you've been a Christian for quite a long time. Has that all been a sort of steady, sort of no problems, sort of?
No, sadly, when we moved to Andover, we had several things. My daughter came home from Australia to have a blessing, and this was in our little local church. And there were several things that happened during my life at Chiltern, but nobody ever came to talk to us. We went down to midnight service several times, and nobody said hello. And we always seemed to be a very tight knit, which I think is what's so wonderful here. It's a church, a real church family, and it's the family of God that, is just such a lovely thing, really.
And you found that helpful in the last few years?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in the last 4 years, I don't know how I would have managed, to be honest, without my faith, and without the loving faith of so many of you people in here. I have had 2 fairly serious operations. And my husband died in November, and he was quite sick before he died. He'd been sick for a very long time, but the last 4 years were really quite tough. And I don't know how I would have managed, I really don't, without God's love and knowing that he was surrounding me. But he was also surrounding me by the love of people that were here. It was fantastic.
So you've chosen Guide Me, Our Great Redeemer.
I have.
Anything particularly significant you'd like to just highlight before we sing together?
The third line.
Third line.
Which I like so much. I am weak, but thou art mighty.
But thou art mighty. So we're going to sing Guide Me, O Thou Great Redeemer.
There you go. Yes, I was a staff sergeant at Queensman and all that. Yes.
Oh, it used to be a really active girls' brigade here in the area. Quite a few girls' brigaders. Is that what you call yourselves? Brigaders? Yes, excellent. But, so, Philip, you've chosen... Philip lives in Chiltern as well, don't you?
I do. I live in Chiltern, that's right.
Chiltern contingent first.
Yeah, only since 2008.
New
kid on the block.
Yeah. You've chosen an Irish song.
I have. Because my mother was Irish, my father was a Church of England clergyman, and part of his training was that he went over to Ireland as a curate and spent 2 years there and fell in love with a very beautiful Irish woman who was my mother.
She wasn't your mother at that point, though, was she?
She wasn't. That's right. Yeah, she became my mother. That's right.
Get the order right. So, your father was a clergyman. Did that make you a Christian automatically?
No, not a bit of it.
Really?
No.
Does that not happen to clergy children?
It doesn't.
Right. Okay. Right. So what happened?
No, I had to make my own personal decision of faith, I suppose I'd call it now. I was sent away to boarding school. Sounds awful, that, doesn't it? But I went to boarding school for secondary school days and dutifully attended Christian Union, as the son of a clergyman does, or perhaps even a daughter does. And I remember I was just being ready for the question, I suppose. It wasn't that I remember the talk being particularly inspirational, challenging. I just remember the man saying that at some point you need to ask Jesus to be your Lord and Master. and to be your guide for your life. He was talking about space and creation, all that. I remember that, but I don't remember particularly much else. I just remember thinking, right, now I've got to respond to this. I was ready, probably.
So, Be Thou My Vision is, what does it mean? What's the essence of it? What's it all about?
It's an ongoing prayer. I think that although I made that decision way back in my first year of secondary school, I have to almost restart pretty much every day. And so every day this is my prayer, as it were, that God be my vision. I'm a normal human being who tends to think of me first. I'm quite a selfish person really when it comes to it. And I fear that's not so unusual, that in fact we all need to think what really is our, well, as Paul puts it in his letter to the Colossians, chapter 1, verse 8, that in all things he might have preeminence, he being Jesus, of course. And I have to sort of remind myself of that on a regular basis.
So has that been straightforward?
No,
have you had an easy, blessed life?
No, it's not from that
really
point to this point, no, not at all.
In what way?
It's been quite a roller coaster
Yeah.
of all sorts of challenges of life, of other things coming in, and
What sort of things have
dear, now you ask.
you say it, whatever you feel comfortable saying? We're just amongst friends, just one or two people overhearing.
Safe here, is it? Okay.
That's safe here. It won't go beyond these. No, I can't say that, can I?
Oh, I don't know. I just got into big motorbikes and all that sort of stuff at one point. Well, I still have big motorbikes. And that inevitably can lead you into all sorts of interesting experiences.
Right.
And,
They're going to sit home.
Yes,
right.
So, but normal stuff of life. Getting out in the day job. I worked in the motor trade for a while, and the building trade, and it's the rough and tumble of all that. Inevitably affects you and can seep into your life very easily. And somehow you've got to keep reminding yourself, actually, you are a member of this new family of part of Jesus' family.
Okay. So we're going to sing "Be Thou My Vision." Anything for any?
I think just make it a prayer. I think read it as you read it,
okay.
as you sing it. Think of it as a prayer. And I'd recommend you perhaps even take the sheet home and remind yourself from time to time of what a wonderful prayer that, although we've got all sorts of things going on in our lives, that will maintain our vision. Jesus is our first and foremost. Yes, that's right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Philip. Lovely to speak to you. Would you please stand as we sing together, "Be Thou My Vision"?
My
And now the celebration choir are going to quickly take their places. I saw them rehearsing this earlier. It's like a military operation. This is brilliant. And Christina Wood is one of the 2 church wardens at St Matthew's. So Christina, you tell us just about your family to start with.
About my family. So I'm married to Jonathan and we have 2 children, Catherine and Emma, who are 7 and 4. And we've lived in Harwell for about 10 years now.
You don't sound British.
No.
So where'd you come from originally?
No, so I hail from Sydney, Australia. So a little way from home. My husband always laughs at me because when we go back to Australia, I sound more Australian than I do when I'm here. So I have this tendency to blend in with the locals.
Blend in. Oh, that's really important, to blend. The Queen is Queen of Australia. We all knew this, didn't we? The Queen is Queen of I think there are about 16 realms, Commonwealth realms, where she's also Queen. There are plenty of other Commonwealth countries, but she's actually Queen of Australia. So Queen Elizabeth is your Queen, whether you're British or Australian.
Indeed.
Yeah. Do you have dual nationality?
I don't have British nationality. No, I happen to have Australian and Swiss nationality.
I did not know that.
Yeah, because my dad's Swiss, so two's enough to be going on with.
We were talking a little bit about your school experience in Sydney. I thought it was quite interesting. I'd like to share. My first experience of knowing God's presence was when I was in primary school. I was about 9 or 10, and our religious education or RE classes were a bit different from how I think it goes here. Everyone was divided up into different groups, whether you were Anglican or you were Catholic or Jewish or whatever else. And I was in with the Anglican mob. And that was made up. Most of the kids were Anglican. Church of England here, and I was always a bit jealous of the others because they went off into smaller groups, and I was quite convinced that they were having more fun than I was having. And the Catholic kids seemed to come back with little presents and things, which was a little bit envious. But anyway, so we used to have volunteers from the local church come in and teach different classes. I don't imagine it was a particularly easy gig to have, teaching in front of primary school kids. But anyway, one day someone different came in, and I don't really remember a lot of what she actually said, but she was talking about giving your life to the Lord, and she had everyone sit down and close their eyes, and it was unusual. There wasn't any sniggering or any of the usual shh and all that kind of stuff that goes on, and she was talking about all the blessings that the Lord has for us, and Jesus being our Saviour. And she said that if you wanted to give your life to the Lord, that you were to stand up. And I remember feeling this presence that I'd never felt before, and I wasn't really quite sure at the time what it was, but it was, that was the first time that I really felt God's presence in my life. So I stood up, and then we signed a little pledge afterwards, and we got a copy of John's Gospel. And I can't really remember much else about it. I don't know where the bit of paper is. It's disappeared somewhere. I don't know where the copy of John's Gospel is. But that was the start of my faith journey. It's been very much up and down, and
all that kind of thing since then. But that was the beginning.
Thank you. So it's been up and down. You've been around the world, haven't you?
Well, yes.
A memorable trip to Corfu. Something good came out of that.
Yes, indeed. I came over as I'm a veterinary surgeon by trade. Came over to England in 2004 and worked a few very cold months as a locum in Margate. And then the sun came out and I thought, right, I need some sunshine fairly quickly. I booked a walking holiday to Corfu and met my now husband Jonathan on the walking holiday. So yeah.
Great. You've chosen My Jesus, My Saviour.
I have.
Which?
I love this song because the lyrics are really simple and it's really strong, and it's a great worship song. If you're in the mood, it's the kind of one that you can sing in this kind of setting, but you can also be driving along in your car and just really have a lovely time of worshipping the Lord. And it's got a catchy tune, which is
it is Australian as well, we should say.
It is too, yes.
But that wasn't the reason.
No.
It's a great song. So it may be familiar to some, maybe not to everyone. I'm sure a lot of people will know. My Jesus, my Saviour, Lord, there is none like you. Thank you, Christina. You stand. Scott, now you're Dr. Bevan, because you've been a GP, haven't you, locally?
Yes.
Dr. Diana Bevan shares a birthday with someone very special, almost. 2 months separates your birth date and the Queen. So, almost separated at birth, just 2 months apart, you and the Queen. You have quite a lot in common with the Queen, and I thought in our conversation, one of the things
I'm not sure what.
we thought, well, there were quite a few I thought, and one of the things was your shared interest in horses. Yeah, and tell us just a bit about your experience of horses.
Well, starting right at the beginning when I was a child, I was terrified of them because I was always small. And the horses were always enormous. And I didn't like them very much. But as I grew older, I began to like them more. And when I retired, I went to work at the local riding stable. And I worked there for 26 years, part-time, unpaid. And I loved it. It was gorgeous. And the horses were nice. They were nice because everybody was nice to them. And that's why they were all nice to us, I'm sure.
You saw the Queen at a horsey event?
Oh, I went.
It's because the Queen loves horses as well.
I saw the Queen at, I think it was the horse. I think it was the Horse of the Year show.
Horse of the Year show.
Yes.
And
I didn't speak to her.
you didn't speak to the Queen? No. Oh, well, another time.
I never spoke to her.
You have chosen as your song, "O Lord my God, one eye in awesome wonder." There's a particular reason, particular line that you'd picked up on when we were talking about it that was significant to you. Do you remember that? You're frowning. All the works, I think. Should we find it?
Are all the work considered?
Yes.
Yes, that's right, yes. Do you want me to go on?
Yes, do.
All right. Well, no, I like this hymn because it covers everything. I mean, God made everything. And this hymn covers it all. You know, you don't have to pick from this to that to the other. Oh, sorry. I'm not good at this.
It's easy for me, the mine's attached.
Well, I'm not good at speaking in public.
You're doing brilliantly, Brian. So we were talking, so that is, just includes everything. We give thanks to God for his amazing creation, for the large and the small. We talked a little bit about, as you're getting older, how things are for you, and you talked a bit about your faith, what difference that makes.
Oh, well, as I've grown older, it's difficult to describe really, because I've always had a faith. I mean, I was brought up in a Church of England home and sent to a Church of England school. I went to boarding school. But in those days it was the done thing. Because my father was fairly exhausted. He was a Major General and he was Governor of Gibraltar, acting Governor of Gibraltar for a few years when I was born. So that was a long time ago.
But as you've got older, what difference has your faith made?
Oh, it's got much more. Sorry.
What is it?
Well, it will be better.
Yes, we should have done that from the beginning, shouldn't we? So as you've got older, tell us what difference has your faith made?
Well, it's got what I would like to call nearer. That sounds a funny way to put it, I'm sure, but it has. Perhaps I've got more time to think about it, but now I wouldn't get by without it. I mean, I've had various situations in my life, largely illness, large quantities, and God has always come to help me. You know, if I don't know what to do, I ask him, and he walks beside me. I really believe he does. As I walk along and something happens that I don't understand or don't know what to do, so I turn to Jesus and say, tell me what to do, and he does. Well, not always immediately, I may say, but he does in the end.
Do you hear a voice? How do you know he's spoken to you?
No, he doesn't speak to me. I don't hear a voice. He's above voices.
Above voices, okay. Direct connection.
No, I just know he's spoken to me.
So Jesus is with you. You feel that he's alongside you. You said he walks beside you.
Yes.
Thank you. And we're going to sing the song that you chose, which is "O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder." Thank you, Dan.